you, Mr. Speaker. I think that this has been an elevating conversation about how we arrived here tonight. Our colleagues on the other side, they voted for the infrastructure bill, they voted for the CHIPS Act, they voted for the CARES Act, they voted for the defense spending increases, and they voted for a tax cut in 2017 that borrowed $2.3 trillion that was added to the national debt. Now, for those who might be paying attention tonight, the national debt is the cumulative effect of deficits. These were annual deficits that were run up. Neither party is responsible for the pandemic. On March 11th of 2020, we were warned what was coming. 20 million jobs evaporated. Tonight, in some measure, because of the leadership of Joe Biden, every one of those jobs has been returned, and 9.5 million jobs go unanswered. In this negotiation, which means you don't get everything you want, there are some quality moments that we take great credit for. We defended Social Security, despite the fact there were 3 Republican senators who proposed cuts to Social Security. That's the reality. We defended Medicare. We defended Medicaid, and we defended veterans' benefits. And very proud of the fact that we wrote the Pandemic Relief Act. There's a group here tonight, I've been here long enough to know this, they were against this before they were against it. They were against it years ago. Never mind tonight. But this moment of bringing the nation to default, what this does, or what it would do to the American dollar as the currency of choice for the world, what this would do in treasury markets for liquidity purposes, what this would do to the hard-earned 401k plans of the American family, to take us to this moment in this showdown that we had. This argument tonight was never about perfection. All 435 members of this House would probably have written a different version of this bill. But in divided government, that's not reality. Now, the last point I want to make is this. In coming days after this righteous debate about balancing the budget, our Republican colleagues are about to offer a massive tax cut. We need to be ready because of the fiscal rectitude that they have offered on this floor tonight. So the corresponding responsibility of all of us is to point out what they intend to do with another tax cut. 201, $1.3 trillion. And by the way, with 2 wars and 2 million more veterans that we need to support. Now, the other reality is back in 2003, another $1 trillion of tax cuts. And the worst one of all, that tax cut in December of 2017, where they borrowed $2.3 trillion for a tax cut that went to the wealthiest among us and had very meager economic growth. So this debate tonight was a good and spirited one because we also have, I think, found a common purpose in passing this legislation. But let's engage this debate going forward. If we want the things that we say they want, we're going to have to pay for them. And that means at some point revisiting these tax cuts that have been put on the table in an arbitrary fashion, and as I noted, with borrowed money. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Massachusetts yields back the balance of his time. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
You know, Mr. Speaker, we hear the other side of the aisle over and over talk about the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Well, let me tell you about the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Last year, we had record revenue into the United States of $4.9 trillion, which was $900 billion plus more than what Joint Tax and CBO predicted what would happen upon passage of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act delivered for a family of 4 who makes less than $60,000 a year that they pay 0 in federal taxes.
Gentlemen will suspend. The House will be in order. Members will remove their conversations from the floor. The gentleman deserves to be heard. Gentleman's recognized.
But Mr. Speaker, let's talk about tax cuts. The other side passed something called the Inflation Reduction Act, and it was tax cuts for their wealthy donors. In fact, the CBO just came out with a new score saying that it cost over $700 billion. But guess what? 90% of your tax credits go to corporations with more than $1 billion in revenues. And it goes to $125 billion to China. That is what your tax cuts did. After years of Washington running in the wrong direction, we have an opportunity to take meaningful steps in the right direction on addressing America's debt crisis. The American people deserve nothing less. They see what inflation caused by reckless spending of the Democrat Party has done to their family budgets, to their retirement security, and to their small business plans. We have the opportunity to end the constant doling out of tax dollars under the guise of COVID relief. We have the opportunity to downsize the $80 billion pay raise that was given to the IRS last year. The IRS does not need a raise. It needs a reckoning. We have the opportunity to support those who can work, to find work and climb out of poverty. We have the opportunity to put some guardrails on the administration so if they are going to spend tax dollars by executive fiat, they have to find savings somewhere else. We have the opportunity and the responsibility to address our debt crisis as we address the debt ceiling. Yield back, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Missouri yields back his balance of his time. Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair. All time for debate has expired pursuant to House Resolution 456. The previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. Question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
Provide for a responsible increase to the debt ceiling.
The question is on passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Aye. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Without objection. Purposes of gentleman. Gentleman from Massachusetts asks for a recorded vote. Those in favor of a recorded vote will rise. Sufficient number having arisen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on passage of the bill will be followed by a 5-minute vote on the motion to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 2797. This is a 15-minute vote.
We'll have the final outcome on all this when the vote is completed. I'm Neil Carlson reporting for iNewZ.TV.
13 minutes.